In this video I am talking about this nifty 50 from the era gone by and why you should care about it. The Pentacon 50mm f1.8 is one of the most affordable vintage lenses that you can get. It was a standard 50mm lens that came with Praktica cameras in 70s and 80s, and it was produced in millions and it's still widely available today. It is a sure bet if you want to experiment with a manual photography and get different and more interesting results than from modern and clinically perfect lenses. I've got this one on eBay for about £40, but if you shop around you can get them much cheaper, and this model I have, the all black Pentacon lens, is the easiest one to find. This lens is M42 mount and it can be adapted to most of modern DSLR and mirrorless cameras, with one exception of Nikon DSLR cameras. Because of the distance, the flange distance between the lens and the mirrors and the sensor, this lens will only focus on in a close distance. There will be no infinity focus. But I have been using it with a Nikon Z6 and it works perfectly fine. The different mount they got on the new Nikon mirrorless cameras actually makes these vintage lenses work great. Like most of these old lenses, it's built like a tank, but this one hasn't got the clicked aperture ring, so for run and gun video kind of work, it's not as versatile like some other vintage lenses, like the most famous one, the Helios 44-2. Comparing this to other vintage lenses that I have reviewed, this really stood out for me as soon as I put it on a camera. I have bought this by mistake and I was going to return it, but then I took some pictures with it and yeah, I still got it. Like a lot of these imperfect old vintage lenses, at the widest aperture f1.8 is not sharp. All the sharp edges got like a double edge to them, like a double soft edge, but as soon as you start closing the aperture, this lens is very sharp. Most people who buy the prime lenses with their wide apertures, fast lenses like this one, want to use it at the widest aperture to get that creamy smooth background and that crazy bokeh. But actually, in my opinion, the images look better at f4 and the bokeh is less round but more octagonal, which gives images taken with this lens more character. And normally in my review of the lens I would have lots of examples of people photography, especially with this portrait length, my favorite focal length out of all focal lengths. But unfortunately, like most of us, all of us at this lockdown self-isolation time, I'm a little bit restricted to what I can take picture of, and so I'm sorry about that. I just love the look this lens creates and how sharp the images are. And there's always this sense of achievement when you nail that focus right, manually focusing, and get that picture looking great with lens this imperfect and this old. But in my honest opinion, this lens really shines when you are doing the video. If you are after something to create cinematic look, this could be it. I was really surprised how good this lens is doing video and how beautifully cinematic look it creates. The contrast and the color is just right. It just delivers quality comparable to something like a cine lens, like SLR Magic lens I have reviewed recently. It's got that cinematic character, or vintage character, which they're trying to recreate now with the modern cinematic lenses, but the cost difference is huge. It's not cine lens, it hasn't got the clicked aperture ring, and it hasn't got a follow focus gears, but the performance wise this is really good. The closest modern comparison to lens like this are the lenses like 7 Artisans or Kippen or New Year lenses, which by their imperfection create that dreamlike vintage look, but they don't have the pedigree or the patina which comes with these vintage lenses. And there is nothing more satisfying than to say, yeah, I've shot that with a 40-year-old lens. These lenses, the Pentacon lenses, have been produced in millions in 70s and 80s. They are very easy to find and for very little money. If you are looking for a wide aperture nifty 50, which is small and which bags ton of character, it's sharp and pleasure to use, this lens could be for you. If you are into filmmaking and you want lens to produce beautifully cinematic look with a swirly bokeh and that dreamlike look cine lenses deliver, but at a fraction of the cost, you should be on eBay looking for one of these right now. And this is it from me. I hope you've enjoyed this. If you did, give me a thumbs up. If you like this kind of video, photography, video, lenses, cameras, reviews, tutorials, please consider subscribing. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. The Pentacon 50mm. It is a sure bet if you want to get like most of these, as the Helios 44-2, which I have reviewed before. The link is on my watch beeped. My watch beeped. Soft edge, like a duplicating. Oh, this is I don't know what I'm talking about.